They say 95% of who we are and what we do is driven by our unconscious. Now, that's a really big number, and it also means there's only 5% left. And so according to this theory, only 5% of our decisions and actions are actually driven by our conscious mind. So I think it would be quite interesting to start exploring this unconscious material that we also call the shadow. Many people talk about shadow work these days, and I think it's really worthwhile to embrace it because we all carry a lot of shadows. And that can be due to conditioning and programming from childhood and just also culturally. It can be from unprocessed traumas and unprocessed, unfelt emotions. In many ways, our shadows can be parts of us that we have disowned and that we have rejected. So for example, if I judge someone because they're expressing their anger outwardly, then it can be rooted in the shadow part of me that is repressing my anger and not allowing me to feel my anger. And by integrating that part of me, by actually connecting to my anger, by allowing myself to feel it and express it in a healthy way, I might actually stop judging other people for expressing their anger. Now, what are some good ways to explore our shadows and actually do shadow work? Now, one of the first things I recommend my clients and other people to do is journaling, and not just any kind of journaling, but a very specific kind of journaling, and that is stream of consciousness writing. You can call it morning pages or daily pages, but essentially you sit down with a notebook and a pen and you open it up and you start writing. Literally stream of consciousness. Whatever is coming up, whatever is going through your mind, you write it down. And that might be, I really don't want to do this, or I feel really tired. Whatever it is, whatever you're experiencing in the moment, whatever you want to reflect on, this is a really wonderful way to get to know the material that's running through your mind, the emotions that you might be having, the judgments you might be having, maybe the way you criticize and judge others, but also the ways that you criticize and judge yourself. And so this is one of the first steps, really, is stream of consciousness writing. And then a second thing that I recommend people do is have a daily mindfulness practice, at best a meditation practice combined with a breathing practice. The breathing comes first and then the meditation, because the breathing makes it easier to meditate. But as you're sitting to meditate, and it's really less about a certain or specific meditation technique and more so about really observing what's going on within you. Now, some people might really struggle with meditation, and there's many reasons as to why, and I might make a separate video about that. But if you struggle to even just sit for a minute or two, then really focus on doing regulating breathing practices. And maybe just have your eyes closed for 30 seconds, okay? Start really small. But what's so important here is, again, just like journaling, we actually connect to ourselves in a way where we can become aware of what's going on within us. And so many of us, we go through life and we barely ever stop to reflect as to, what are we thinking? What am I feeling? And it's a really beautiful way to really raise that level of awareness. Number 3 is IFS parts work. IFS stands for Internal Family Systems. And there's many different kinds of parts work. For example, inner child work is actually parts work. And then there is IFS, developed by Richard Schwartz. And it's really a way that we get in contact with these different parts that live within us. The part that judges, the part that suppresses the anger, the part that judges myself for judging others. And so we can connect to all these different parts. And it's a really beautiful way to become aware of our patterns and our woundings. And one of the best ways to get started is to get Richard Schwartz's book, IFS Parts Work. And you can just go on Amazon and type in IFS Parts Work. And there's going to be several books coming up. There's also another one, and I forget the author, but I think it's just called Self Therapy. And it's very guided, lots of different prompts. So you can do IFS Parts Work on your own. You can do it in your journal. You can do it as a meditation. There's meditations on YouTube. And you can also work with an IFS coach or therapist to really go deeper. I think there's always limitations to try and do everything by ourselves and on our own. And there's definitely a lot of value to be had when working with another therapist or coach. Number 4 is transformational breath work. Yes, that is probably, one of the best ways to also somatically explore our shadows and to basically turn off our thinking brain, our ego mind, and then be able to access layers that are beneath our awareness in daily life. And so transformational breath work using, for example, conscious connected breathing is just a wonderful, wonderful modality to explore ourselves in new ways. It's a beautiful tool of self-discovery and to explore woundings, shadow parts, and just, explore our bodies and connect to ourselves in a way that is usually not accessible to us as we go about our normal days. And so I highly recommend to give it a try. Through transformational breathwork, we can explore our unconscious really by going through the body rather than, for example, when we're journaling, we're mainly just doing it through our mind, right? We call this top down, whereas breathwork is more of a bottom up practice. And it's, one of the best ways I find to really dig into our unconscious. And then lastly is number 5, and that is somatic experiencing. That is a therapy modality. I also work with somatic experiencing. I also work with breathwork. And somatic experiencing is very different from transformational breathwork. It's a lot more subtle. It's a lot more slow. And it's, again, best to work with a therapist or a coach, someone who's trained in that modality. But it's a way to, again, explore our unconscious in a somatic way through the body. It's especially helpful if you have a lot of unprocessed active trauma in your body. But overall, it's just a wonderful way to explore our bodies and its sensations in a whole new way that we normally just wouldn't even sense in our normal day-to-day life. Somatic experiencing will help you get in touch with a lot of the unconscious reactions that we normally aren't aware of in our bodies. And so it's one of my favorite healing modalities alongside breathwork. And so, I highly recommend you give it a try as well. Let me know what kind of shadow work modalities and practices you've explored in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.